We begin in India, where the tally of confirmed coronavirus infections has now topped 20 million. It's the second country after the United States to pass the grim milestone. India's government reported over 357,000 new cases on Tuesday, marking the 13th consecutive day of more than 300,000 new infections. There were also more than 3,400 deaths over the last 24 hours, bringing the total over 222,000. The Japanese embassy in India says a Japanese resident there in her 40s died from the coronavirus on Monday. The surge in infections has put a significant strain on India's healthcare system, with hospital beds and medical oxygen in short supply. India has been receiving coronavirus aid from the world. Flights from the United States and Britain with medical supplies, including oxygen concentrators, arrived on Tuesday. The World Health Organization has been providing India with medical supplies and helping set up makeshift hospitals.
WHO is providing critical equipment and supplies, including oxygen concentrators, lab supplies, and mobile field hospitals. We're also providing advice for people on how to provide care at home for families that are unable to find a hospital bed.
Meanwhile, some countries are trying to bring their nationals home. South Korea's first chartered flight arrived in Seoul on Tuesday, carrying about 170 people from India. The country has suspended operations of all direct flights to India since late April. The South Korean government says another chartered flight carrying more than 200 people is expected to leave from the southern city of Bengaluru on Friday. Now here in Japan, the governor of Osaka Prefecture in the country's west is casting doubt on the feasibility of ending a state of emergency next week. The medical situation is critical in the region due to surging coronavirus cases.
I think it will be difficult to ease restrictions or lift the current state of emergency.
The measure is due to expire on May 11th in Osaka and the nearby prefectures of Hyogo and Kyoto, plus Tokyo. Yoshimura says he'll decide at a meeting later this week whether to ask the central government for an extension. Osaka reported 884 new cases on Tuesday. Hospital capacity for seriously ill patients exceeds 99%. This clinic has taken the rare step of making itself available for outpatients during Japan's annual spring holiday period.
If we don't do this now, we'll have a hard time later. Dealing with even more seriously ill patients in the future will lead to chaos.
Now, daily cases also remain high in Tokyo. On Tuesday, officials reported 609 new infections. They say 65 people are in serious condition, unchanged from the previous day. Parts of the capital were less crowded than usual given the time of year. Others were somewhat busier, including Mount Takao in the west.
This is my first time out during the long holiday period. I'm surprised. I didn't expect so many people.
I didn't even think about traveling far, so I decided to go somewhere nearby. Abroad is impossible. It's also difficult to visit my parents' home.
Nationwide, there were about 4,200 new cases on Tuesday. 50 people died. The European Union has proposed its member states ease anti-coronavirus restrictions on non-essential travel. The change would allow vaccinated tourists from abroad to enter the bloc. Under the European Commission's plan, people who've received authorized vaccines will be able to get into the EU. Restrictions would also be eased for countries with relatively low infection rates. The EU plans to introduce the new rules in June after getting approval from its members. Meanwhile, France is taking its first steps to ease coronavirus restrictions. In Paris, many travelers were seen at a major hub for domestic train travel, as people are now allowed to go beyond a 10-kilometer radius of their homes. Almost all of the measures, including limits on travel and business hours, are expected to be lifted by the end of next month.
I'm happy restrictions have been eased, but infection cases are still high. I'm worried about a possible resurgence in the summer.
An average of more than 20,000 cases are being reported every day in France, and over 5,000 patients remain in intensive care. In the UK, about 5,000 people attended a music event. It's a part of government trials exploring ways to safely hold mass events this summer. Ticket holders had to test negative for the coronavirus, but once inside, they were not required to wear masks or maintain social distancing. They're being asked to get tested again 5 days after the event and report the results.
It's just strange to see people with no masks on and just enjoying themselves. It's good to be back.
The government plans to conduct additional trials, including a sporting event and an outdoor film screening. Authorities in Mexico City say at least 23 people died after an elevated overpass collapsed, sending a subway car plunging to the street. The accident occurred at around 10:30 p.m. on Monday. Footage shows the structure and train broken to form a V-shape. Rescue personnel were preparing to search for any additional passengers who may still be trapped in carriages. Authorities say 70 people were taken to hospital for treatment.
At this moment, a crane was working to support the train that is hanging so that rescuers can continue to enter and see if there are people inside the subway car.
The subway line running on the overpass was purportedly built about 10 years ago. Investigators are looking into the cause of the accident. Billionaire philanthropists Bill and Melinda Gates say they're divorcing after 27 years of marriage. The Microsoft founder and his wife made the announcement on Twitter. They say they've raised 3 incredible children, but no longer believe they can grow together as a couple. Bill Gates is one of the world's richest people. Forbes magazine estimates his fortune at more than $130 billion. U.S. media say details about the settlement of their estate are unknown. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of the world's largest charitable organizations. Since the year 2000, it's helped fund causes including the fights against polio and AIDS. The two say they still believe in the foundation's mission and will continue to work together. In other news, a woman in Israel has made history as the first openly transgender referee to judge a match in the country's premier football league. Sapir Berman blew the whistle in a match held in the northern city of Haifa on Monday. Some fans held signboards in her support. Berman announced at a news conference last week she had always seen herself as a woman.
There are players who already speak to me as a woman. They feel that they want to take a part in this process and speak to me even when it's not necessary.
Berman said nothing has changed for her on the pitch, and she'll continue to pursue her dream to judge an international competition. The Union of European Football Associations tweeted, "Berman's story is inspirational and highlights football's spirit of inclusiveness."
In Mexico, a railway partially collapsed on a roadway late Monday, killing at least 23 people and injuring many more. News media report that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is expected to approve for emergency use Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 12 to 15 by next week. Health experts are concerned that lack of public trust in COVID-19 vaccines in Africa could prolong the coronavirus health crisis. And the administration of President Joe Biden this week raised the number of refugees the United States will accept this year to 62,500.
Pressures mounting on India's government to impose a national lockdown after the country recorded more than 20 million COVID infections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is under criticism over widespread shortages of oxygen and hospital beds. G7 foreign ministers have been getting down to business in London. As they met, the world's richest countries were being urged to share their vaccine with the rest of the world. And US President Joe Biden has given an update on America's vaccination program. He says the US is ready immediately to vaccinate adolescents when federal health authorities give them the go-ahead.